The Big Bang Theory proved one controversial TV character should have been retired a decade earlier. For a sitcom built on character evolution, emotional growth, and long-term storytelling, The Big Bang Theory is surprisingly guilty of holding on to characters long after their purpose had faded. Over 12 seasons, the show introduced major arcs, relationships, and even parallel ensemble groups, all while evolving its once rigid cast into more layered figures. Yet despite this natural progression, one character lingered far past the point of relevance, so much so that the series itself eventually proved they should have been retired a decade earlier. That character is Rajesh Koothrappali. Though originally part of the core four, Raj's arc stagnated more deeply than any other major character on the show. Instead of evolving, he became trapped in cyclical running gags, recycled emotional beats, and increasingly unlikable behavior that contradicted the growth happening around him. By the time the series ended in 2019, it was painfully clear that Raj had nowhere left to go, and retroactively, he should have been written out around the end of season 4 or 5. Here's why. Raj's premise worked. At first, early in the show, Raj served a clear comedic function. He was the quiet, socially anxious outsider who couldn't speak to women without alcohol. This dynamic was unique, relatable, and aligned perfectly with the series' early nerd culture awkwardness. His inability to speak was more than a gag, it was a character trait rooted in insecurity and identity. The problem is the show broke that trait early, then failed to replace it with meaningful development. Once he gained the ability to speak to women, first through intoxication, then soberly, Raj's foundational joke disappeared. Instead of evolving him into a deeper character, writers replaced the gag with obsessive romantic desperation, entitlement disguised as hopeless romantic behavior, a pattern of sabotaging relationships, codependency with Howard. These changes didn't create growth. They highlighted that his prior traits masked a lack of narrative plan. By contrast, characters like Sheldon and Howard transformed fundamentally. Character start and growth. Sheldon socially isolated, emotionally stunted, forms relationships, marries Amy, matures, huge ideological evolution. Howard's sexist, crass, immature husband, father, aerospace engineer, substantial personal growth. Raj shy, silent, insecure, still desperate, entitled, and lonely, regression or stagnation. Raj's arc flatlined while everyone else leveled up. By season 5, Raj had completed his natural story purpose. Raj's last meaningful character pivot came when he moved into Sheldon's old room with Stewart, symbolizing that he was the lone singleton left behind. This shift positioned him to grow independently, confront his emotional flaws, and mature as others did. Instead, the show leaned into his loneliness as a punchline. Had Raj been written out earlier, perhaps moving back to London or receiving a major astronomy position, his departure would have felt earned, bittersweet, and meaningful. Instead, the writers kept him for more love triangle plots, failed romances, and increasingly shallow humor. Imagine if Raj's exit arc happened in season 5. He leaves for a prestigious international astronomy program. His final moment involves reconciling his insecurities and choosing purpose over romance. He returns occasionally in guest episodes, similar to Stewart or Leslie Winkle. It would have preserved his dignity and given him narrative closure. Instead, he stayed and dated a woman who compared herself to a Disney princess, got dumped repeatedly, and ended the series the only single main character, not because of tragedy, but because the writers gave up. The show turned Raj into a parody of himself. Instead of developing Raj, the writers escalated his flaws into personality traits. 1. He became the butt of the joke. Rather than a character struggling with insecurity, he became the show's designated loser. 2. His relationships became pointless. He dated Lucy, socially anxious, but disappeared with no closure. Emily, dark humor, promising dynamic, ruined abruptly. Claire, triangular rebound plot. The arranged marriage storyline promising, then dropped. Anjali, off-screen breakup before show begins. Final season fiancé who never mattered. No relationship progressed Raj, only reset him. 3. His entitlement became his defining trait. Instead of shy, he became judgmental, self-centered, clingy, jealous of friends' success. The fandom noticed. Support for Raj declined rapidly after season 6. Raj should have been replaced by characters with actual growth potential. When The Big Bang Theory expanded beyond its initial scope, newer characters brought fresh dynamics that Raj couldn't match. Bernadette elevated Howard's arc and reshaped group dynamics. Amy transformed Sheldon and became a series lead. Stewart evolved into a tragic comic character who grew more than Raj. Even Bert the geologist had clearer development than Raj. The cast essentially evolved without him. Raj wasn't just stagnant, he was narratively replaced. Even the series finale proves he had no arc left. The finale is the ultimate statement on every character's journey. Sheldon reaches emotional maturity. Amy wins a Nobel Prize. Howard and Bernadette become a stable family. Leonard and Penny build a future together. Raj? He goes to a red carpet event and third wheels Sarah Michelle Gellar. His ending isn't tragic, it's irrelevant. And worse, the writers almost gave him closure with a wedding storyline, then canceled it last minute because they didn't know what to do with him. That alone is proof he had long outstayed his narrative purpose. Keeping Raj damaged the show's legacy. Raj's lack of direction didn't just hurt his character, it hurt dynamics around him. Howard lost his best friend arc because Raj regressed. Group storylines increasingly ignored him. His presence made romantic arcs repetitive rather than evolutionary. A show that became deeply about growth, adulthood, and emotional fulfillment left one of its original leads behind as a relic of Season 1 humor. When a character works best as a symbol of what the show used to be, that character shouldn't still be there. Conclusion: Raj's departure would have strengthened the show. If The Big Bang Theory had written out Raj a decade earlier, his legacy would look different. A well-meaning, insecure scientist learning to find his place. A character whose limitations were handled thoughtfully, not mockingly. A departure that respected his emotional struggles, instead of dragging them out. Instead, he remains one of TV's most controversial examples of character stagnation, not because he failed to evolve, but because the show evolved without him. Raj deserved closure, and The Big Bang Theory proved, unintentionally, that he should have gotten it long before the final episode.